So now we are gonna correct that high elevated hip on the right. We're actually gonna do it from both sides. You don't always have to, but until you get used to it, or if you have somebody who has like a really determined to stay high hip, we'll say, then it's nice to have both approaches. So we're gonna have her start laying on the high hip. So she's on her right side because that was her elevated side. And then I'm gonna have her bend her knees up for me. Lovely. And she has her head supported by her arm. If that's not comfortable for people, then you just put a pillow under there, but you want their head and neck to be pretty relaxed and pretty lined up. So she elevated her legs, or she bent her knees a little bit. I like to stabilize the hip with one hand, and you come to the same side for this correction. So your same side as their bent legs and face. Then you grab underneath the legs, basically right above the knee, so it's supported and you're not on the joint. And then we have her take a nice deep belly breath in and a relaxing exhale. And I'm gonna move her legs up more, so she's more like a 90-degree bend here. And then I'm gonna scoop underneath her lower legs. So I'm in like just above the ankle, so I'm not right on the joint again, and I have good grip here, so I can really grab her. I like to sink my body low to protect my body, and I still have this really nice leverage. So nice deep breath in and relaxing exhale, and let your legs stay relaxed. And people really want to help you here, and you just got to continually remind them, I've got you, you're safe, let your legs flop and drop is what I like to say. And then big breath in, and as you exhale, press the lower legs into my hand. Good. So now she's resisting me here. For your first press, you usually do about 8 to 10 seconds, or maybe one full deep breath in and a full exhale. And then on their next exhale, you have them relax their legs. So she's gonna breathe in, again, keep pressing, and exhale, relax the legs. Good. And so then the legs come up a little bit more. Again, if people are helping you, then it's going to come too far, and it's going to mess with the integrity of the hips, and it doesn't really release the muscle. So you really got to make sure that the alignment stays where it needs to be. So that's why I stabilize this hip, and again, make sure that they're relaxing. And so I could bring her legs way up here. This is not what we want. They may get there eventually, but this is what we want it to be, really relaxed and able to engage that hip. So again, we're gonna do a deep breath in, exhale, press down into my hand. Good. So she's pressing down with her lower legs, and she's breathing nice and full in and out through her belly. And usually for your subsequent holds, you're holding for about 13 seconds or so, maybe 2 full deep breaths in and out. And on the exhale, we relax the legs. Good. And then we always do a breath in between. So relaxing breath in and relaxing exhale. Oftentimes that's where you'll get a little bit more movement and deeper release. So it's really imperative. And we always press on and exhale. So we're gonna press down now. Good. And she's gonna keep breathing, but we always press on a release. We always exhale on a release. Or I said that wrong, but we'll get it. And big breath in, exhale, relax it. Good. Awesome. And just relaxing, inhale, relaxing, exhale. Good. And then we just let that down and we let it set for a second. So I think I said that wrong. Press on an exhale, release on an exhale is what I meant to say. And you always want that breath in between. So now I'm gonna have her turn onto her other side, and we're gonna show the other style of release for that high hip. And you're releasing a lot of muscles here, not just one. QL is kind of your core, no pun intended, but it is the big one because it has so many insertion points. So we're talking, it deals with shoulder, our breathing muscles, our stabilization, you know, it inserts to the rib cage, the spinal column and the top of the hip. And so it's really dealing with a lot of different mobility. So it's a big one that we release. And we're also releasing a ton of the front hip muscles, the inguinal muscles, and the glutes in most of these moves. So for this one, you're gonna have them bend their knees up pretty substantially, good. And then straighten this top leg and bring it back towards me, good. So right there's perfect. So now people do tend to kind of roll in this one, and you want to kind of stabilize where you want their hip to be, which is basically in line here. If they shift a little forward or back, it's not really a big deal, as long as when they're engaged, their alignment is correct. So this one is tough, but feels so good, and is probably one of the best releases. I wish someone would do this to me on both sides like every day. So you're gonna lace your fingers up like this, so you get a really solid lace, and then you're gonna go right above the hip bone, right above the iliac crest, and then you're gonna sink in and you're gonna pull down. So then I actually squeeze with my forearms and elbows. I'm actually squeezing and stabilizing the joint and stabilizing the leg in the space I want it to stay. So lace in, sink in, scoop and pull down, and then engage the elbows and forearms. Then they're staying nice and relaxed here for their first breath. So big deep breath in and just a relaxing exhale, and I pull down. And then a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, you're gonna hip hike, which Carrie knows means draw her hip up towards her armpit. And then she's gonna elevate her leg. She's gonna press it right up into me, bring it back towards me more. Good, press up, 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 flex the foot, toes towards the nose, good. And so I'm still pulling down, I'm resisting, we're resisting each other. It's gentle. If someone's really, really a lot stronger than you, then you just tell them to match your pressure, so they're not yanking you. Big deep breath in, exhale, relax it, good, good. And so for her leg wants to come forward a little more, good. So she listened to that and she brought it back towards me, which is where we want it. And relaxing, exhale, good. Again, I'm still pulling, and if you need to readjust in between is always when to do it, and that's fine to do. So just making sure you're laced up, scoop down, pulling down the hip, pulling towards her feet. Deep breath in, exhale, hip hike towards the armpit, so draw that hip up, good, and then leg up, up, press right up into me, good. Turn your toes towards the table a little more, good. Awesome. Good, and relax it. We don't have to hold these ones as long because they're so engaging. And relaxing breath. It's also a lot of work for your body. And big deep breath. Relaxing breath. And we'll do one more big deep inhale. Exhale, hip hike, elevate. Good. Press up, up, up. Yep. Good. And relax it. Awesome. Relaxing breath. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Good correction. It's all good. And then we're just gonna, I like to palpate in here on the QL, and I like to feel around, just like quality of the muscle, seeing if I'm noticing any trigger points. It's a good place for feedback for people. If they've had an elevated hip or a tight QL for a while, this can be tender. It's also a spot that most people don't dig in a lot on themselves. So it tends to be tender, and it's by all those precious internal organs. So, you know, there's some nerve stuff that's like, okay, I gotta be safe. So always be mindful, but it is a really good place to get feedback for your work. So now I'm gonna have you just stack your knees. Good, there we go. And so you can still do a little bit of palpation here. This is also a wonderful position to do any side-lying glute work, but that's what I'm gonna show you from this position right now. So that was correction for an elevated hip.